Masamune Okumura, a dude with zero interest in real-life romance, sinking way too many hours into anime and manga, like you, scrolling through endless waifu debates but still never picking a side. He's grinding for that ultimate 2D love, doubling down on the belief that pixels and voice actors got more soul than any 3D girl ever could. Thinking he's living the dream, dodging romance flags like it's a speed run, but deep down he's just another guy lost in the waifu wars, hoping one day he ascends to a world where 2D isn't just fantasy. But no easy isekai routes here, just endless reruns of Real Girls Don't Get Me and a whole lot of 2D forever copium. Another long intro, hit that like button if you want to skip it. We'll cut out the intros once the video hits 1K likes. The story kicks off with Masamune Okumura just chilling in the manga club room, probably lost in daydreams about his favorite 2D girl. Then, bam, the door flies open, and in walks a total bombshell of a first-year student named Ririsa. Okumura, however, isn't swooning. This guy is so dedicated to his 2D waifu that he's actually annoyed by the presence of a real girl. But wait, folks, things are about to get wild. Ririsa opens her mouth, and oh boy, she's not your typical high school girl. This chick starts dropping knowledge bombs about erotic figures and the intricate details of anime character underwear. No joke, guys. His face is priceless. Jaw on the floor, eyes bulging out like he's seen a ghost or maybe an angel. Speaking of angels, here's where it gets even crazier. Ririsa reveals she's obsessed with a character named Liliel, who just so happens to be Okumura's ultimate waifu. Now brace yourselves for the kicker. Ririsa pulls out her phone and shows Okumura a collection of cosplay photos and videos. That's right, folks, this girl isn't just talking the talk, she's walking the walk. She's been cosplaying as all these sexy anime characters, and let me tell you, she's got skills. Okumura's brain is practically short-circuiting at this point. He's struggling to process how this real 3D girl is somehow bridging the gap into his 2D world. It's like his entire reality is flipping upside down. But wait, there's more. Just when Okumura thinks he's reached the peak of his mental endurance, Ririsa drops the real bomb. She wants to make a cosplay video. Not just any video either. A full-blown, high-quality shoot of Liliel, Okumura's ultimate waifu. And she wants him to be the photographer. The internal struggle is real. On one hand, he's sworn off 3D girls, declared his loyalty to the perfection of 2D. On the other hand, this is his dream materializing right in front of him. Fantasy bleeding into reality in a way that shouldn't even be possible. After a brief moment of hesitation, he gives in. And then, the moment that changes everything. Ririsa steps out in Liliel's angel costume and reality glitches. It's not just cosplay, it's like Liliel herself has materialized, stepping straight out of the screen and into the real world. Okumura looks like he's about to collapse, his face running through 50 different expressions in the span of 2 seconds. Absolute panic, barely contained awe, pure disbelief. It's all there, and it's glorious. Meanwhile, Ririsa is completely unfazed, like this is just another Tuesday. She twirls in the outfit, utterly confident, flashing glimpses of the carefully selected lingerie that matches Liliel's character to perfection. Every detail, down to the smallest accessory, is meticulously on point. Okumura, on the other hand, is in full meltdown mode. The steam practically rising from his head says it all. His brain is fighting a losing battle against the sheer absurdity of the situation. But it doesn't stop there. Ririsa keeps changing into different outfits, each one more breathtaking than the last, and something unexpected happens. Okumura, despite the initial shock, starts getting into it. His photographer instincts kick in. He's giving directions, framing shots, capturing angles like a seasoned pro. Somewhere along the way, his resistance crumbles. The hesitation fades. He's in the zone. It's like watching an artist discovering his muse, and for the first time, the lines between his world and Ririsa's start to blur. Ririsa is switching outfits again, moving through her collection like it's just another casual day. Then, the inevitable happens. Her zipper gets stuck, and she asks Okumura for help. The look on his face is a masterpiece. Redder than a tomato, hands trembling like leaves in a storm, every fiber of his being screaming at him to run, but he doesn't. Somehow, against all odds, he steps up. Slowly, carefully, he reaches for the zipper, trying to free it without completely short-circuiting. Then, in true anime fashion, fate or disaster, depending on perspective, strikes. Ririsa shifts her weight, loses her balance, and before either of them can react, she falls straight into his arms. Time freezes. They're locked in an accidental embrace, close enough to feel each other's breath, close enough for Okumura's brain to go into full-blown emergency shutdown. The air is thick with something impossible to ignore. The tension is suffocating, the kind that could snap with the slightest movement. And then, just like that, Okumura breaks. Overwhelmed beyond reason, he does the only thing his panicked brain can process. He bolts. No hesitation, no second thoughts. He's out the door, running like his life depends on it, sprinting all the way home as his mind spirals into chaos. This isn't how things were supposed to go. He was so sure, so confident that he only loved 2D, that real girls held no power over him. And yet, here he is, questioning everything. The real kicker, Rarisa acts like nothing happened. No flustered reactions, no awkwardness, nothing. She's just excited to come back the next day for more cosplay fun, completely oblivious to the existential crisis she's just unleashed. Mikari Tachibana, a stunning supermodel, transfers into the school and the place erupts. Students rush in from every direction, shoving notebooks and phones in her face, desperate for an autograph. The excitement is overwhelming, a whirlwind of voices and flashing cameras. Then, in the middle of it all, she drops an unexpected question. Does this school have a manga club? The energy shifts, confusion rippling through the crowd. The follow-up hits even harder. When someone asks if she actually likes manga, she doesn't even hesitate, she hates it. Over in the manga club, Rarisa is already on the case. She breaks the news to Okumura, practically buzzing with excitement. A supermodel right here in their school, and not just any supermodel, the perfect cosplay partner. The possibilities are endless. Then, something unexpected slips out. Okumura admits he doesn't mind taking Rairisa's cosplay photos. No reluctance, no obligation, just a casual statement. But for Rairisa, it's anything but casual. She had always assumed she forced him into it, always believed he was just tolerating her hobby. Realizing the truth hits differently. The moment lingers for just a second before her enthusiasm doubles. If he really doesn't mind, then why stop now? She wants more pictures. One small problem, no cosplay today. No problem at all. If she can't be a fantasy character, she'll create one. She poses in her school uniform, throwing herself into the role of a manga heroine. Every expression, every movement exaggerated to perfection. Then, disaster. Or maybe fate. A wrong step, a loss of balance, and in the blink of an eye, Rarisa crashes straight into Okumura. The two tumble into a tangled mess, limbs everywhere, the weight of pure embarrassment hitting instantly. The photo session ends in chaos, both scrambling to recover from the sheer awkwardness of it all. But the day isn't over yet. Later, Okumura finds himself face to face with none other than Mikari Tachibana. No flashing cameras, no swarming fans, just her, standing in the manga club, looking at him like she's been waiting for this moment. And then, another revelation. Mikari isn't just a transfer student. She isn't just a supermodel. She's Okumura's childhood friend, and underneath all the fame, all the distance, one truth remains unchanged. She's had a crush on him since they were kids. A flashback unfolds, pulling Mikari back to the moment she once asked Okumura if he had a crush on anyone. No hesitation, no second thoughts, his answer was absolute. Lilial, his beloved manga character. Nothing and no one else. Another memory surfaces. A different time, a different place. A younger Okumura stepping between Mikari and a group of boys, shielding her from their taunts, their cruel laughter. He didn't hesitate then either. He simply acted. The memory burns bright, a moment that shaped everything. Then, the distance. 5 years away from this city. 5 years chasing a dream, molding herself into someone new. She thought if she became a model, if she became cuter, if she changed enough, maybe, just maybe, Okumura would change too. But now, standing in front of him again, reality hits. He's the same, still detached, still lost in his world of 2D perfection. And yet, she cannot bring herself to hate him. Unlike the countless others who fall for her in an instant, Okumura is different. He isn't swayed by a pretty face, doesn't falter under the weight of her fame. He has built walls, thick and impenetrable, because rejection after rejection has worn him down. His solace lies in a world that cannot hurt him. Mikari wants to be the one to break through. She wants to be the angel that lifts him out of that world, the one who makes him look at someone real. After an awkward, lingering moment with Okumura, she escapes to the rooftop. The wind rushes past her, but her mind is caught in the past. Memories of the time they spent together play like a distant film reel, looping endlessly. Then, movement below catches her eye. A girl steps into the manga club. Something about the way she carries herself, the way the air shifts around her feels familiar. Mikari doesn't think, she moves. She bursts into the room, heart pounding, and the scene before her freezes her in place. Okumura, camera in hand. A girl dressed in Lilial's clothes, posing, smiling, the very image of the character he swore his love for. Rarisa, still in character, turns to Mikari with effortless confidence. An invitation lingers in her expression. She asks if Mikari would like to cosplay with them. Mikari barely hears the words. Her thoughts spiral, her vision blurs. She stands frozen, utterly flabbergasted. The girl before her isn't just cosplaying, she is Lilial, brought to life with an almost eerie level of accuracy. Every detail, every expression, every movement is so precise that, for a moment, Mikari feels like she's staring at the real thing. The weight of it settles in as she finally understands what cosplay is truly about. Eventually, she gives in. She accepts Rarisa's request to join her Kazurome project. If she's going to do this, she wants to do it right. She demands to take on the role of Lilial. After all, Lilial is Okumura's favorite character. If she's going to step into his world, she wants to do it as the one character that means everything to him. But then, reality hits. No matter how much she tries, She isn't Lilial, not in the way Ryurisa is. The blonde hair, the delicate features, the natural charm. Ryurisa fits the role too perfectly. Mikari sees it, accepts it. Instead, she shifts gears, choosing to cosplay as Miriella, another character from the Ashford Chronicles. And just like that, the lines between fantasy and reality blur again. Miriella, a girl who harbors feelings for Ashford, the protagonist. A girl who adores him yet knows his heart belongs to someone else, Liliel. The parallel is undeniable. Mikari is Miriella, the childhood friend, the one watching from the sidelines while Okumura remains fixated on his unattainable ideal. The realization stings, but she embraces it. Then comes the real test. When Mikari and Ryurisa step out in full cosplay, Okumura's reaction says it all. Shock, awe, disbelief. He's completely floored. The transformation is so flawless that, for once, he has no words. Mikari takes it a step further, fully committing to the role. Every pose, every gesture, dripping with Miriella's longing for Ashford. Okumura watches, barely holding himself together. Ryurisa, riding the moment, suggests taking pictures for the costume. It should have been a simple photo session. Instead, it turns into a disaster. Okumura doesn't stand a chance. Seeing both Ryurisa and Mikari fully embodying the characters he's loved for so long, moving, breathing, standing right in front of him, his brain simply gives out. He faints on the spot. After the chaos settles, reality comes crashing back. Mikari breaks the news to Ryurisa. Those pictures can't be used. Her contract as a supermodel forbids it. Ryurisa is visibly disappointed, but she doesn't dwell on it. The experience itself, the moments captured, are more than enough. But something else lingers beneath the surface. Ryurisa watches Okumura chatting with Mikari, and something unfamiliar tugs at her. A strange, unwelcome feeling creeping in, something she can't quite name. Jealousy. Not that she realizes it herself. Mikari, on the other hand, sees things more clearly. She should have tried harder to understand Okumura before. She spent years trying to change herself, but maybe she should have been looking at him instead. But she's grateful. Cosplay, something she never cared for before, gave her a way to reach him. If it means keeping that connection, then she doesn't mind doing it again with Ryurisa. The night stretches on, but the work isn't over. Ryurisa and Mikari throw themselves into editing the personal cosplay pictures of Ryurisa for an upcoming event. The process is exhausting, time-consuming, but Ryurisa refuses to settle for anything less than perfection. And she isn't alone. Okumura, standing by her side, assures her that he's got her back. No complaints, no reluctance. Just quiet support. Ryurisa doesn't say it out loud, but it fuels her. This isn't just about a hobby anymore. This is about making the best cosrum possible with Okumura. After a full week of exhausting work, the final piece falls into place. The cosrum is ready. Every edit, every adjustment, every pixel fine-tuned to perfection. Ryurisa leans back, satisfaction washing over her, but she knows she couldn't have done it alone. She thanks Okumura, her words carrying more weight than she realizes. He was there the entire time, pushing through the tedious process without complaint, making sure she could bring her vision to life. Later, in the hallway, Mikari pulls Ryurisa aside, a simple question laced with curiosity. What does she think of Okumura? And the answer comes without hesitation. To Ryurisa, Okumura is like Ashford, always supportive, always reliable, helping her reach for her dreams without asking for anything in return. Mikari sees it. The signs are there, clear as day. Ryurisa doesn't even realize it, but her feelings might already be set in stone. Meanwhile, Okumura wrestles with his own thoughts. The event looms ahead, and something about it feels different, almost like a date. The idea refuses to leave his mind, no matter how much he tries to push it away. The next day arrives, and Okumura finds himself standing at the station 4 hours early. Ryurisa's advice, something about avoiding crowds, led him here way ahead of time. But now, waiting alone, another thought creeps in. Did he dress properly for this? Before he can spiral further, Ryurisa appears. But not just in her usual style. She's dressed fashionably, every detail carefully chosen. It doesn't take much to figure out the reason. Mikari's touch is all over it. With time to spare, the two decide to wander for a bit, making the most of their early arrival. The plan seems harmless enough until reality kicks in. After a while, Ryurisa's feet start to hurt. The fashionable choice might have been a mistake. Okumura notices immediately, guilt settling in. No point in walking around anymore. Instead, they find a quiet spot, pull out their phones, and spend the rest of the wait watching anime in public. Finally, the moment arrives. They step into the event hall, eyes scanning the massive crowd, the overwhelming energy buzzing in the air. Their booth is easy to spot, set up, and waiting, but something is missing. Then it hits Ryurisa like a freight train. No posters, no cards, no promotional materials. The essential things that should be drawing in customers is completely forgotten. A wave of panic crashes over her. But that's not the worst part. Standing in front of the booth, looking at the spot where she should be, hesitation creeps in. The doubts she thought she had buried resurface with a vengeance. What if she doesn't stand out? What if Lilial isn't enough? The confidence that carried her this far begins to crack. The event hall buzzes with energy, a swirling mass of colors, costumes, and flashing cameras. In the middle of it all, Ryurisa and Okumura cross paths with Magino, a seasoned cosplayer. and her photographer, Ogino. Watching them work, the reality of the cosplay scene sinks in. This isn't just a hobby for some, it's a competitive world where only the best stand out. And right now, Ririsa isn't standing out at all. With no flashy attractions, no promotional materials, her cosrooms remain untouched. Enthusiasts walk past their booth without a second glance. The realization gnaws at her, doubt creeping in. Then, Okumura speaks. She should pose as Liliel. The suggestion freezes her. A single thought grips her mind. What if she's not good enough? But before insecurity can swallow her whole, Okumura reminds her, plain and simple. To him, she is the cutest Liliel in the world. The words hit their mark. Confidence reignites. Without another thought, she rushes to the changing room. Then another hurdle. Home of her cosplay items are missing. The setback should have been enough to break her, but she isn't alone. Other cosplayers step in without hesitation, offering their own accessories, their own pieces, their own support. No competition, no conditions, just pure camaraderie. Moments later, Ririsa steps back onto the event floor. Liliel has arrived. The transformation is instant. All eyes shift to her. The hesitation from before is gone. Enthusiasts flock to the booth, cameras flashing, voices overlapping as they line up for a chance to capture the perfect shot. Even Ogino, a man who once lived and breathed Liliel, finds himself drawn in. He watches her, nostalgia creeping in, a silent admiration forming. This isn't just another cosplayer. This is Liliel. And Okumura sees it all unfold. The uncertainty that once held her back, now crushed beneath the weight of her own talent. He knew she could do it, and now, so does everyone else. Later, in the changing room, the high of the event lingers as Ririsa sits among her fellow cosplayers, laughing, sharing, swapping horror stories of costume malfunctions and last-minute panic. Gratitude fills her as she thanks everyone who helped her when she needed it most. The decision solidifies in her mind. She isn't stopping here. She's attending the next event. But before she leaves, one last thing remains. Outside, she searches the crowd, eyes darting from face to face, looking for her, the elf girl who had helped her earlier. The problem? She never got her real name. No choice. She starts shouting. Heads turn, people stare, but she doesn't stop. Eventually, the elf cosplayer appears, face a mix of amusement and mild irritation. She tells Ririsa to keep it down. She works at an office nearby. Ririsa stands with arms crossed, frustration bubbling under the surface. The event is over, and she didn't sell a single cosroom. Time worked against her, mistakes piled up, and in the end, there was nothing to show for it. She tells Eri, voice laced with disappointment. Eri doesn't seem fazed. She drops something unexpected. Mayora, the cosplayer Ririsa idolized, sold 0 copies at her first event too. The words offer a brief sense of relief, but Ririsa isn't done yet. She asks about Miora, expecting to hear about her next big event, maybe even a chance to see her in action. Instead, Eri delivers the final blow. Miora has retired from cosplaying. Everything stills for a moment. Ririsa takes it in, but the weight lingers. The thought follows her even as she heads home. The idea of never seeing Mayora again, never standing in the same space as the person who first inspired her, sits heavy in her chest. Later, she speaks the thought aloud to Okumura. Mayura was the reason she stepped into the world of cosplay. The reason she worked so hard to reach this point. Losing that presence feels like losing a part of herself. But even as the disappointment settles, another thought pushes through. If she keeps attending events, keeps moving forward, maybe, just maybe, she will meet her again. Then, a shift. She turns to Okumura, something softer in her voice. She thanks him. Not just for helping, but for being there. For standing by her side when things didn't go as planned. And then, something else rises. A feeling, sudden and undeniable. She realizes it. She has feelings for Okumura. But before the thought can fully form, she shuts it down. She rushes to clarify. She loves Okumura as her cosplay partner. The words hit harder than intended. Okumura barely reacts. But the silence says enough. Whatever flicker of hope was there dies instantly. Neither of them acknowledges what's actually happening. The feelings are there, tangled beneath layers of uncertainty. The next day, Mikari spirals into a full-blown panic. The almost date between Ririsa and Okumura replays in her mind like a nightmare. A perfect chance for Ririsa to make a move, a moment where everything could have changed. The uncertainty eats at her, pushing her straight to the manga club to check on them herself. She arrives, ready to confront them, only to find Ririsa alone and barely dressed. Standing there in nothing but her underwear, Ririsa greets Mikari like it's nothing, casually thanking her for the fashion advice. Mikari, completely unfazed by her nonsense, demands the truth. Did Ririsa seduce Okumura at the event? Ririsa's answer lands like a brick. She only loves Okumura as a photographer. Mikari struggles to process the sheer stupidity of it, and yet, relief settles in. If Rarisa is this clueless, then Makari still has a chance. Before she can press further, Rarisa gets called away for extra classes. She tosses her things to Makari and bolts. Down the hall, she collides with a teacher, barely managing to stay upright. Before she can apologize, the teacher beats her to it with an offhanded remark about avoiding cuts or bruises that could ruin her looks. The unexpected compliment catches her off guard. She mutters a thanks before hurrying off. Meanwhile, in the manga club, Mikari waits. Curiosity wins. One glance at Riorisa's belongings, and before she knows it, she's slipping into Liliel's costume. Then, Okumura walks in. For a moment, neither moves. Mikari freezes. She doesn't exactly have Riorisa's assets, but that doesn't seem to matter. Okumura is already struggling to breathe. She watches, amused, as he flusters on sight. He's undeniably into Liliel. Seizing the moment, she jumps straight into his arms, sending him into a full meltdown. But she isn't done. She leans in, pushing him further, telling him he can touch her wherever he wants. The tension snaps. The pressure is too much. Okumura is seconds away from losing it. Makari is convinced he won't be able to resist. But then, the unexpected. Okumura, barely keeping himself together, manages to get the words out. Liliel belongs to so many people. It wouldn't be fair to cross that line with her. Makari stares, processing his words. The way he says it, the sincerity in his voice, it's cute. Irritatingly cute, but at the same time, a thought lingers in the back of her mind. She wishes he could feel that way about her instead. At that moment, Rarisa returns, stepping into the room just as Okumura and Mikari are holding hands. Their reactions are instant, stammering, scrambling for an explanation, but Rarisa doesn't wait to hear it. She pushes Okumura aside, taking his place without hesitation. Mikari shrinks back, suddenly self-conscious. She doesn't think she makes a good Liliel, doesn't think she can pull it off the way Rarisa does, but Rarisa dismisses the doubt effortlessly. Cosplay isn't about being the perfect fit, it's about bringing a character to life, no matter who you are. Then Okumura chimes in, adding another piece of wisdom. Even flat chests have a solid fan base. Makari doesn't know whether to feel touched or insulted. Then, before she can process it further, Rarisa shifts gears. Playfulness kicks in. Without warning, she makes a move to peek under her skirt. Chaos ensues. Later, Okumura steps away from the madness, meeting up with Ogino. The goal is clear. He needs to improve his photography skills before the next event. Ogino is flattered to be considered a master, but in reality, Okumura just doesn't know anyone else to ask. Their journey leads them to a Japanese-themed studio. The moment they step inside, Ogino gets to work, explaining the fundamentals. The right environment can make or break a shot. It's not just about taking pictures, it's about crafting images that sell. Then, Majino steps into view, dressed in a kimono so tight, it leaves little to the imagination. Okumura stares, completely starstruck. Ogino, seeing the wardrobe malfunction before it happens, rushes in to adjust her outfit, leaving Okumura standing there, still processing. Once everything is set, the shoot begins. Okumura watches, taking in every movement as Ogino guides him through the process. Timing, focus. Two things that even Photoshop can't fix. Then comes the theme discussion. Every photo should tell a story, evoke a feeling. The shoot kicks off, with Majino shifting seamlessly between poses, a master of expression and presence. Okumura and Ogino adjust, frame, and shoot, refining their craft with each click. When the session ends, the results speak for themselves. Ogino barely glances at Okumura's shots before teasing him. Still a rookie, still lacking instinct. To prove his point, he holds up his own shot, perfectly capturing the mischief in Magino's gaze. Magino reviews Okumura's photos and the critique lands hard. Technically fine, but no personal touch. Just an imitation. The sting barely fades before Majino raises the stakes, suggesting something bolder. Okumura hesitates, but Majino takes it further, her next pose more provocative. He freezes. Ogino, unfazed, reminds him, this isn't about discomfort, it's about supporting their cosplay partners, helping them bring their vision to life. Then, Majino shifts gears. She asks outright if Okumura has a crush on Liliel. The hesitation, the nervous energy, it all adds up. Okumura denies it instantly. Liliel isn't the issue, he's just not used to seeing things like this up close. Maguro doesn't push, but leaves him with a final warning. Bottling up feelings leads to regret. If he wants real connections, he needs to stop running from himself. The words linger longer than he expects. By the end of the session, Majino reassures him. Since they shared a table at the event, they're basically friends now. Then Ogino admits something unexpected. Watching Rarisa at the event reignited something in him. A passion he thought had dulled. But in the cosplay scene, photographers always look ahead, speculating on the next big name, the ones who set the trends, the ones who shape the community. Okumura asks for clarification. Ogino spells it out. 4 women currently dominate the cosplay world, a group known as the 4 Heavenly Queens of cosplay. Nagomi, the heavenly wonder, a cosplayer whose performances are mesmerizing, almost ethereal. Yoki, the one who drives men wild, a walking enigma of confidence and allure. Erika, the shape-shifting mystery beauty, able to transform into any character flawlessly. And finally, Mayura, the thighs that defy lies. A legend in her own right, unforgettable, untouchable. But Magino chimes in. There are more than just 4. The scene is ever-changing, new talent rising all the time. Then Okimura speaks. The one question lingering in his mind, what happened to Mayura? The air shifts. Okimura confirms it instantly. Mayura hasn't appeared since last year's Summer Kami, her absence leaving a void in the scene. No announcements, no farewell, just gone. And with her disappearance, the question remains, what will take her place? That's when Ogino remembers something. The moment he saw Ririsa at the event, the shock he felt, the impact she had. The way people reacted to her. It was the same feeling Mayura once commanded. A new rivalry is born, Ogino lays it out. Things wouldn't be as exciting if Okumura remained a novice photographer. If Ririsa is stepping into the spotlight, Okumura needs to keep up. They're a package deal. The words hit harder than expected. Okumura finally understands why people kept calling him Ririsa's partner at the event. They aren't just 2 people who happen to work together, they're a team. If they're going to do this, they have to cross the finish line together. Then. Ogino catches something. The name, Ririsa, not a stage name, not an alias, her real name. He doesn't press the issue. Instead, he promises to keep her secret as long as she shows up at the next cosplay event. The next day, the student council gathers, evaluating club performances. Decisions are made. A club will be demoted in favor of another that's doing better. Meanwhile, Okamura and Ririsa are in their own world. Okamura proudly presents his latest stash of late-night sword polishing material. The magazines hit the table, and as expected, Ririsa immediately geeks out, flipping through the pages, eyes gleaming with excitement. But Okamura's mind veers into dangerous territory. He tries to push away the unholy thoughts creeping in, but it's too late. Then, Ririsa blurts out an idea. Lilio in chains. Okamura's outclassed. Completely, undeniably outclassed. Ririsa, riding her own excitement, suggests they take pictures of Lilio in peril. The moment the idea is out, she's already shifting into character, slipping into the role effortlessly. Okamura swallows hard but picks up his camera. This time, he applies Ogino's lessons. Focus, composition, framing. He adjusts, refines, capturing the bound wrists, the tension, the vulnerability in her pose, and then it clicks. Ririsa sees the photos and practically beams. The improvement is undeniable. She praises Okumura, surprised to hear that he actually went out of his way to take lessons from Ogino. The realization lingers. He put in effort for her. Okumura meets her gaze and says it outright. They're a team. If she wants to make a name for herself in the cosplay world, he'll match her effort, step for step. Ririsa hesitates. Then, the words slip out. At first, it was just about showing her love for Lilio. But after the event, after experiencing everything with Okamura by her side, something shifted. It became more than just cosplay. It became about the thrill, the fun, the idea of reaching for something bigger. If attending more events means growing, if it means sharing her passion with more people, then she's all in. Okumura nods. He had fun too. A promise is made. They'll see how far they can go together. Just then, the student council suddenly informs Okumura that due to lack of members, the club room is going to be given to another club. Okumura stares at the grim reality. The manga club is on the verge of being absorbed into the aquarium club. The thought alone feels like a defeat. Something has to be done. Ririsa, always optimistic, suggests finding an advisor. Without one, the club stands no chance. Being the leader, Okumura takes responsibility, vowing to do whatever it takes to keep their club alive. He searches relentlessly, asking every teacher on staff to support them. One by one, they all refuse. Just when it seems hopeless, a teacher offers a lead. Hanyu, the newest faculty member. Following the tip, Okumura finds her. Then, the shock hits. Hanyu isn't just a teacher, she's Mayura, the same Mayura Risa idolizes, the legendary cosplayer who disappeared from the scene. She left it all behind, choosing a quieter life as a teacher, the past buried, or so she thought. Hanyu listens as Okumura explains his club, her interest flickering at the mention of manga and cosplay. But the past is the past. She refuses. Then another shift. Okumura brings up Ririsa, her admiration, her passion, her unwavering love for Mayura. Something in Hanyu hesitates. She accepts. But an advisor alone won't be enough. Hanyu makes it clear. They need to prove the club has purpose, justify its existence to the student council. A solid report is the only way to secure its future. On her suggestion, Okumura and Ririsa head to an elementary school to introduce manga as part of a community service project. It falls apart instantly. This is a scene from anime. It's really a scene from the Japanese Bible. The children ignore them completely, more interested in their own chaos than whatever lesson Okumura and Ririsa are trying to teach. The plan, teeters on failure. Rarisa steps up, cosplaying as Liliel to capture the children's attention. The chaos fades, replaced by fascination. The plan finally works, and a solid report comes together. Meanwhile, Hanyu receives a call. Eri, an old friend, brings up Rarisa. Her charm, her energy, her presence, something special. Eri hopes Hanyu will come to the next event as Mayura. The suggestion lingers, unshaken. The next day, Hanyu enters the manga club, expecting the report. Instead, Masamune and Rarisa tell her they won't be using it. Silence hangs in the air. Hanyu insists they must submit something, but the duo stands firm. After reconsidering, they realized the report felt dishonest. Cosplay was something they were proud of, and hiding it for approval felt wrong. Instead of lying, they decided to scrap the report and submit a new one that truly represented them. Hanyu listens, understanding their perspective but emphasizing reality. No report means no club. That's when Rarisa brings up the upcoming big cosplay event. Instant rejection. Hanyu shoots the idea down immediately, warning them about how harsh the outside world can be toward cosplayers. She insists they use the fake report to protect their club. Rarisa refuses. Keeping the club at the cost of betraying their passion wasn't an option. The words hit harder than expected. Hanyu flashes back to her own journey, the struggles, the criticism, the moments that made her walk away. The frustration builds, but so does something else. Then, Rarisa speaks again. Even if people don't take them seriously, even if the world looks down on cosplay, she will never be ashamed of what she loves. She won't lie about it. She won't betray it. Something cracks inside Hanyu. The fire Ryusa carries, the determination, the way she refuses to back down. It sparks something long buried. Adrenaline kicks in. Hanyu doesn't stop them anymore, but she raises the stakes. Attending the event won't be enough. If they want the student council and principal to acknowledge their club, they need to be the most popular cosplayers there. No other way. In a manga store, a strange girl wipes out the shelves, buying every single trading card and piece of merch for an anime character named Kai. Her obsession turns heads, earning judgmental stares from every direction. None of it phases her. Meanwhile, Okumura is on a call with Ogino, discussing the upcoming cosplay event. Then comes the bombshell. One of the 4 heavenly queens of cosplay, Nagomi, will be attending, not just as a guest, but working at an official industry booth. Her mere announcement already racked up 100 reposts. Ogino warns Okumura to keep an eye out for her. Back at the studio, the same strange girl stands, surrounded by assistants, helping her change into costume. The truth comes out. She is Nagomi, the cosplayer who swore off 3D men, fully dedicated to becoming the perfect 2D girl for Kai. The day of the event finally arrives. Okumura, Rarisa, and the rest of the crew step inside, immediately overwhelmed. The sheer scale of the venue leaves them stunned, nerves creeping in. But Okumura steadies himself, pushing forward. They have a goal. Rarisa, however, freezes. The memory of her last event rushes back. Every awkward moment, every embarrassment. The cringe threatens to swallow her whole. Confidence drains instantly. Then she turns to Okumura. She needs the magic words. Okumura, flustered but knowing exactly what she needs, mutters it. Her Liliel is the cutest in the world. Just like that, the doubt vanishes. Behind the moment can settle, the atmosphere shifts. A new presence arrives. Their professional weeb has entered, accompanied by none other than Magino. Ogino breaks the news. Nagomi has drawn a massive crowd, all eyes on her. The recent cosplay boom on social media only fueled the hype. Meanwhile, the girls prepare to change, leaving Ogino and Okumura to scout the venue. On the way, they cross paths with Nagomi, too absorbed in her gacha game to notice the world around her. Magino fills them in. The people surrounding Nagomi aren't just fans, they're her dedicated support group, a perk of being a professional cosplayer. Then Nagomi finally looks up, her gaze locking onto Rarisa. Recognition flashes instantly. She remembers Lilio from the last event. Her photographer had even shown her a picture. Her verdict is that it is still too 3D. Rarisa, nervous but curious, asks who Nagomi is cosplaying today. The answer stuns her. Even Nagomi doesn't know. The disappointment must be obvious because Nagomi picks up on it immediately. She brushes it off. This is nothing new. Cosplayers pretend to love their characters all the time, even if it seems disingenuous. But to her, cosplay is different. This isn't just a hobby or a trend. It's the only time she can transcend into the 2D world, because Kai deserves the best 2D girl. Before parting, she leaves Rarisa with a challenge, asking who loves cosplay more. Then, a warning. She'll be here until noon, and if Rarisa wants to make an impact, she should avoid showing up before then. The interaction leaves Rarisa shaken. She worries she may have upset Nagomi, but before she can dwell on it, 2 fans approach. Instead of sulking, Rarisa surprises her. Nagomi isn't an enemy, she's a prodigy, someone worth learning from. Then, they push forward, entering the dressing room. Inside, chaos unfolds. Cosplayers rush to change, fighting for time and space, knowing that securing a prime spot before the event begins is everything. Okumura and Ogino sit like generals plotting a battlefield strategy. Their plan is to position themselves near the closest exit to Nagomi's booth. With her overwhelming presence drawing massive crowds, they predict a mass exodus once people finish seeing her. If enough people stop for pictures with them, they can create a ripple effect, turning curiosity into momentum. Meanwhile, back in the dressing room, Arisa stares at her Lilial costume, and the parting words of Nagomi echo in her mind. The weight of it lingers, but she forces herself to focus. This isn't about proving anything to Nagomi. She's here for her club, for her dream. Elsewhere, in the dressing room of Nagomi, the transformation is complete. The costume is flawless, and when she steps into it, she looks nothing short of stunning. Compliments come easily, but something feels off. Her manager catches it. Nagomi is distracted. The truth spills out. Rarisa reminds her of Mayuri, another cosplayer who dedicated herself to a single character. Nagomi never liked that. She always switched cosplays, pushing herself to surpass Mayuri. Yet no matter what she did, Mayuri's single character approach always outsold her. The frustration never faded. Nagomi insists she isn't the villain. She sees potential in Rarisa, but watching her follow the same path as Mayuri is infuriating. If Rarisa doesn't push herself, if she doesn't evolve, she'll burn out, just like Mayuri did. The manager understands and asks if Nagomi resents Rarisa. Nagomi sighs. She's said harsh things, but the truth is she doesn't dislike her. She just worries that Rarisa won't survive in the cosplay world if she doesn't get it together. Back in the dressing room, Magino is fully dressed and ready. She turns to Rarisa, still sitting on the floor, costume untouched. Rarisa suggests they go without her. Magino doesn't argue. She heads out, immediately finding Okumura and Ogino. Okumura notices instantly Rarisa isn't with her. Magino brushes it off. No need to worry, Rarisa just hasn't changed yet. If she struggles, Okumura should help her. Before he can respond, movement catches their attention. Nagomi steps into the event hall and the atmosphere shifts. Okumura watches, taking in the difference. She isn't like the others. Even with Lilial's presence, Nagomi carries something distinct. Something unsettling. Manager quietly observes, muttering to herself. Maybe, just maybe, Nagomi is too deep into her 2D obsession. Nagomi takes it as a sign from the gods, a reward for her dedication. She fully embraces her character, quirks and all, immersing herself completely. Every mannerism, every detail, perfected. The smile, the tone, the presence. Flawless. Meanwhile, confusion spreads. An hour passes and still no significant foot traffic at the main venue. Others head to investigate only to find the entire crowd outside. Nagomi has taken over. Photographers swarm her, leaving no space inside. The manager suggests a break, urging her to rest, drink, and eat, but Nagomi refuses. She won't break character. She's still waiting to see her Kai. Rarisa is still missing, Okumura calls her. When she finally answers, her voice wavers. She can't find her skirt. Hanyu, Magino, and Ogino listen in as Rarisa insists she packed it. Magino speculates someone might have taken it by accident, but checking every cosplayer isn't an option. No clear solution. Okumura offers to check the lost and found. Rarisa tries to sound fine, brushing it off, but her voice cracks. The frustration, the helplessness. She can't hold it in. Losing the skirt feels like losing her place in the cosplay world. Magino sees it. Rarisa still hasn't shaken off Nagomi's words. Okumura refuses to let this slide. Minutes later, he finds her sitting alone, eyes red from trying not to cry. He sits beside her, frustrated but steady. He reminds her of their promise. He doesn't have the perfect words, doesn't know how to fix this, but he won't let her give up. Rarisa's thoughts drift to the report, to everything riding on this event. Okumura shuts it down. Forget the report. Right now, nothing else matters. Only this moment. Only her love for cosplay. Because Rarisa didn't start cosplaying for a report. She started because she loves Lilial. His words hit harder than expected, striking a nerve. Rarisa, already disheartened, feels the weight of everything crashing down. Without another word, Okumura stands up and leaves, telling Magino and Ogino to focus on their own matters. This is between him and Rarisa. Sensing her despair, their sensei Hanyu steps in. Hanyu admits she overheard everything and asks what Rarisa plans to do next. Tears well up again. Rarisa sobs, saying she has never seen Okumura so angry. She feels responsible for everything. Ainyu comforts her, telling her not to blame herself. Rarisa laments that despite all her promises, nothing has gone right. Then Hanyu shares her own story. She had no friends growing up, often sitting alone because of her unusual interests. Then one day, Mayura showed her a cosplay she wanted to make, and a home economics teacher supported her. That moment changed everything. She laughs, saying that without that support, she never would have become a home economics teacher herself. She pats Rarisa on the head, reminding her that no one can escape what they truly love. Then, without another word, she leaves to handle her own matters. Rarisa watches her go, feeling even worse. Now, she has disappointed not just Okumura, but Hanyu as well. Meanwhile, Okumura moves through the hall, questioning cosplayers to see if anyone accidentally took Lilial's skirt. Magino and Ogino watch from a distance, remembering Okumura's promise to Rarisa. No matter what, he would always help her. And as Ririsa sits, unsure of what to do next, a familiar figure appears before her, Mayura. Dressed in full cosplay, Ririsa stares in shock, not realizing that Mayura is actually their teacher, Hanyu. Ririsa pours everything out to Mayura, the reason she pursued cosplay, the excitement, the struggles, and now the uncertainty weighing her down. She isn't sure if she should continue. Mayura listens, acknowledging how complicated it all feels. She started cosplaying for herself, wanting to change something within. But in the end, she kept going for the simple joy of it. She didn't come back just for herself. She came back to lend Ririsa her strength. Mayura pulls her into a hug. Mayura steps back and asks the one thing that matters. Does Ririsa still want to cosplay? She reminds her that she isn't alone. She has a partner who shares her passion. Before Ririsa can answer, Okamura rushes over, holding something in his hands, the missing skirt. Tears well up as he hands it to her, his words steady. Passion is what truly matters. A true otaku would never judge someone for what they love. He tells her to forget societal expectations, forget the pressure. Cosplay isn't about Lilial. It isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about her. Then Ojino steps in, voice urgent. The photo shoot of Nagami is wrapping up. They have 10 minutes, only 10 minutes, to attract new fans before the crowd disperses. Panic sets in. Ririsa needs an hour to change. There's no time. Then Mayura steps forward. Okumura and Ogino freeze. She's here. The Mayura. She tells Ririsa to keep going, to persevere. Okumura has worked hard for this. As their club advisor, she isn't letting them fail. She will buy them time. Meanwhile, the manager signals the end of the shoot of Nagomi, but Nagomi refuses to leave. Kai hasn't arrived. She won't go until she sees him. The manager warns her not to overdo it. Okumura watches the crowd, realizing they're about to disperse. If they leave now, there's no bringing them back. Then Mayura steps forward. The reaction is instant. Everyone turns. Cosplayers, photographers, bystanders, every single one rushes to the booth of Mayura. Nagomi watches, irritation bubbling as the attention shifts. For the first time today, she isn't the center of it all. Frustration boils over. Nagomi yanks off her lower and reveals her toned physique. She is making a bold declaration. She isn't done yet. She refuses to lose to Mayura again. This time, she will compete. The crowd wavers, torn between the two. Okumura, watching the chaos unfold, forces himself to stay calm. One thing becomes clear. When Mayura steps into character, she transforms entirely, not for herself, but to give the next generation a chance. Nagami, however, has always lived in the shadow of Mayura. No matter how much she excelled, Mayura was always there, quietly standing in the background, yet commanding all the love and admiration, and that's what infuriates her the most. People adore Mayura's character, not Mayura herself. She doesn't understand, why don't people love their characters the way she thinks they should? Doubt creeps in. If cosplay isn't about the love for a character, then what is the point? She realizes that for her, it was never about cosplay itself. The only one she ever truly cared about was Mr. Kai. Mayura, however, sees Nagomi's dedication for what it is. Ojino praises it, calling it the pinnacle of the craft, reaching a level where cosplaying is more than just dressing up. Meanwhile, Ririsa finishes putting on her costume. It isn't perfect, but Okumura's words echo in her mind. What matters is the effort, the passion, the love for what she does. Nagomi doesn't see it that way. No matter where Mayura stands, she always feels inferior. She pushes herself endlessly, yet it never feels like enough. Even something as simple as smiling feels forced. Mayura notices. She remembers a time when Nagomi loved being around cosplayers, beginners or veterans alike. There was joy in it, a sense of belonging. Then, everything changed. One day, Nagomi announced she wanted to go pro. An agency had reached out to her. Mayura, who always saw cosplay as a passion, not a profession, couldn't follow her down that path. That was the split. Nagomi's obsession with surpassing Mayura blinded her to her own success. She became more popular, sold more, but never acknowledged it. Every negative comment stuck with her, eating away at what little joy she had left. Mayura finally understands. Nagomi no longer loves what she's doing. She takes a step back, her expression steady. She tells Nagomi that this isn't a competition. She isn't here to fight her. Instead, she wants Nagomi to meet someone who will change everything. Because for her, cosplay isn't about proving anything. It isn't about competition. It comes from a deep love for the character. And she is certain, once the crowd sees that love, they will fall for it too. The moment Ririsa steps out, the atmosphere shifts. Lilial has arrived. The crowd stills, eyes locking onto her. She isn't just cosplaying, she is Lilial, a true angel. The aura she radiates, the way she carries herself, it captivates everyone instantly. Nagomi is taken aback. Despite every setback, every doubt, Ririsa stands tall, spirits high. She isn't here to compete. She's here because she loves this. Mayura simply waves at Lilial, then quietly slips away to change. She doesn't need to interfere. Ririsa has already won in her own way. Agpume bubbles in Ririsa as she calls out to the crowd, inviting them to take as many pictures as they want. Ogino and Okumura stand beside her, ready to support her. Then, someone in the crowd murmurs, "Lilial is glowing." Ririsa, lost in admiration for Lilial for cosplay itself, feels something shift inside her. The doubts, the questions, they don't matter anymore. The answer is clear. She loves this. She always has. The crowd thickens, drawn in by the cuteness of Lilial. The energy grows, and Agami watches, a familiar pang of envy creeping in. Ririsa isn't struggling, she isn't doubting herself, she's just happy. Then realization dawns. Ririsa never came to compete, she came to showcase her love for cosplay. Nagomi sees it in her expression, the same joy she once felt at the start of her own career. Memories flood back. The first time she cosplayed a character she adored, the rush of admiration, the excitement of being praised for bringing a beloved figure to life. Back then, every compliment fueled her passion, but somewhere along the way, things changed. Becoming a professional pulled her away from the very people she once loved interacting with. She had stopped loving herself in the process. She doesn't know when it happened, but she knows she lost sight of what truly mattered. Then, right there in front of everyone, Nagomi lets go. Her staff clatters to the ground. She has her answer. She turns to the crowd, apologizing softly, admitting that she needs time because she's decided she's going back to where it all began. Mayora watches Nagomi, relieved that she hasn't crumbled under the pressure. She hasn't given up. She has simply let go. Nagomi thanks Ririsa, her voice steady. Cosplay had become something else for her, something heavy. But today, Ririsa reminded her of the simple joy that made it fun in the first place. Something ignites in Nagomi, a new vow forms within her. She will make the gods of cosplay smile. She wants the world to watch her more than anything. She wants the one she has been searching for all this time to see her shine. Meanwhile, the goblin duo watches as Lilial's presence stirs something deep within the crowd. The energy around her keeps growing, but Okumura notices something else. Nagomi's crowd is also expanding. Ojino marvels at Lilial's ability to hold her audience. Retention is everything in cosplay. Flashy entrances are one thing, but keeping a crowd engaged requires skill. Different poses, expressions, a sense of presence, Lilial has mastered them all. Most cosplayers can manage 5 to 10 unique poses. Lilial cycles through every single one from the anime, her body effortlessly moving through the scenes she loves. The result is the crowd can't get enough. The energy escalates. Enthusiasts, photographers, and devoted goblins snap away, eager to capture every angle. Even the goblin duo finally steps in, eager to take their own shots of Lilial. Beneath it all, a flicker of nervousness stirs within Ririsa. This is her first time standing before a crowd this massive. The weight of so many eyes should be suffocating. But then she remembers the countless hours spent perfecting this cosplay, the passion that fueled her through every detail, the love she holds for Lilial. Her happiness eclipses the nerves. She shines even brighter. Then softly, she thanks Naomi, not for the challenge, not for the rivalry, but for reminding her of something truly important. Cosplay isn't just a performance. It is how she shows her love for Lilial. It is where she feels safe. It is where she can truly be herself. Nagomi watches, her perception shifting. She had dismissed Ririsa as just another newbie, another fleeting name in the scene. Now she sees something else, a worthy competitor. Unlike Mayora, who always made her blood boil, Ririsa feels different. For the first time, she acknowledges her as something more, a rival, and she wants to shine brighter with her. The crowd keeps swelling, a sea of excitement surrounding Lilial. Nagomi's photographer watches in disbelief, commenting that crowds like this usually only form at Kamiye. The sheer hype for a brand new cosplayer is unheard of. The thought lingers, Ririsa might just be the next cosplay queen. Nagomi, realizing the time, raises her hand, marking the end of her photo session, and as she turns to apologize to her manager, the words catch in her throat. Instead, she declares it outright. This is the cosplayer she has been searching for all along. The event winds down, and Ririsa concludes her own session, thanking everyone for their support. But before anyone can ask for her information, she bolts, sprinting away as her cosplay begins to fall apart. She bursts into the main building, dashing straight into Okumura. Without hesitation, she clings to him, overwhelmed with relief and exhaustion. The emotions crash all at once, and before she can stop herself, the tears spill over. Okumura doesn't hesitate. He reassures her, tells her she was the main character today, everything will be fine. From a distance, Hanu watches silently, a small smile on her lips before slipping away unnoticed. And as she exits, she runs into Eli. The reunion is anything but peaceful, but Eli has an odd day. Eli does not hold back, calling her an idiot for ghosting everyone all this time. She scolds her relentlessly, delivering the final blow to whatever emotional walls Hanyu had left standing. Cosplay brought them together, She cherishes every moment they spent as friends. It might have been everything to Mayora, but that doesn't mean she has to throw everything else away too. Meanwhile, Ririsa, still on a high from the event, heads toward the changing room, only to come face to face with Nagomi. For a split second, tension lingers. Then, Chaos rears fangirls over the cosplay of Nagomi without hesitation does the same. The realization hits, talking to each other is actually fun. Without thinking twice, they decide to take a picture together, then exchange numbers. Before the moment can settle, Okumura walks in. The second Nagomi lays eyes on him, something shifts. She realizes he is the Kai lookalike, her Kai, the one she has been searching for all this time. Her entire demeanor changes. She shyly introduces herself, but jealousy flickers the moment she realizes how close he is to Ririsa. A plan forms. Feigning innocence, she casually suggests he should cosplay Kai. And while at it, sneakily asks for his number. Inside the changing room, Ririsa is met with praise from fellow cosplayers. Compliments flow, recognition settles in. She had made an impact today, but the moment is short-lived. All attention shifts the second Nagomi walks in. Her usual private changing room is no longer available. She has no choice but to change here, in public. The realization hits like a brick. The mean comments she once read online flood back, whispers of judgment echoing in her mind. She tries to undress but struggles with her zipper. Panic creeps in. Calling her assistant crosses her mind, but the lump in her throat keeps her silent. Just as tears threaten to spill, a few cosplayers step forward, offering to help. One after another, voices of kindness replace the imagined cruelty. Compliments replace judgment. Nagomi stands still. All this time, she never liked herself. She saw everyone as competition, as enemies. But today, everything shifts. It was never them. It was her own mind trapping her. Outside, Nagomi meets Ririsa once more, her demeanor lighter. She urges Ririsa to attend Summer Kami Head, insisting people will want pictures of Lilio. Then she pulls out her phone. Ririsa stares. Nagomi had uploaded a few pictures of her earlier, and the response is overwhelming. Likes, shares, engagement flooding in. Before leaving, Nagomi gives her final words. Enjoy the moment, because at this rate, Ririsa is bound to be famous too. On the train home, exhaustion finally catches up. Ririsa slumps against the shoulder of Okumura and immediately passes out. Normally, Okumura would panic, but this time, he simply exhales. This isn't Lilio, this is Ririsa. Not long after, she stirs awake. Okumura tells her to rest more, nudging her head back onto his shoulder. Then softly, she mumbles something. He loves him. Okumura doesn't hesitate. He says it back. Elsewhere on the train, Hanyu accidentally overhears their exchange. Her eyes widen, but the moment she is spotted, realization hits. The love they spoke of wasn't quite the love she had imagined. She is disappointed to learn that she misinterpreted their conversation. The next day, Sensei Hanyu submits the club's report to the principal. He reviews it carefully, and his concern is evident. Allowing the club to operate is one thing, but making its activities visible to other students is another matter entirely. Meanwhile, Ririsa walks into her classroom only to be met with the immediate scolding Mikari. She's in big trouble. Her eyes follow the pointed glare of Mikari toward the blackboard. There, a message from her teacher. She has failed every subject in the exam. Mikari sighs, exasperated. Ririsa had been completely irresponsible, throwing herself into the manga club without a second thought for her studies. Elsewhere, Okumura waits anxiously for news when Hanyu finally enters. She wastes no time. She has received an answer. Their application has been approved. But there's a catch. The report will remain confidential. The excitement of Okumura fades. He questions why a simple cosplay activity needs to be kept a secret. Hanyu explains. She had tried to convince the principal to make the report public, but he refused. Not because he disapproved of the club itself, but because he feared for the students involved. Today's youth are fragile. If the report were published, it could lead to bullying in class, rumors spreading online, unnecessary backlash. The principal doesn't want to create a situation that could harm them in ways they don't yet see. Hanyu, initially frustrated by his decision, now understands. The principal isn't dismissing them, he's protecting them. He admits he has made mistakes in the past, ones he deeply regrets. He refuses to let more errors grow from this. Sometimes, shielding students from potential risks is the better choice, even if it means not fully supporting their passions in the open. Okumura listens, the weight of it settling in. He doesn't like it, but he understands. He thanks Hanyu for her efforts and waits for Risa's opinion. Moments later, she arrives, flanked by the student council. She has already agreed to the terms. With that, the student council president gives them the final go-ahead, but with one firm reminder: under no circumstances should they create any inappropriate content. Okumura can't hide his excitement. The club is officially saved. Before he can fully process it, Hanyu pulls both him and Ririsa into a celebratory hug. Things get a little too close. Okumura, awkward as ever, comments on the situation. Hanyu, unfazed, teases him, asking where exactly the downside is. That's when it fully hits Ririsa. Mayura, the legendary cosplayer, is their sensei. Before she can dwell on it, Mikari walks in, sees the group hug, and immediately decides to join in. Okamura, wanting to shift the atmosphere, challenges Hanyu to a video game, a harmless way to shake things up until he realizes his mistake. She's a monster at it. Humorously, he dubs her the Milky Queen Succubus Mayura. Mikari overhears, immediately picking up on something. She notices Sensei's cosplay costume. Ririsa chimes in, explaining that their teacher was once a legendary cosplayer. Hanyu sighs, correcting them. That was a long time ago, and for the record, she isn't old. She's 22. Mikari, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot, turns to Okumura with a wicked grin and asks if he would marry Sensei. Okumura lists off Hanyu's best qualities, her skills, her kindness, her support, the fact that she's undeniably beautiful. Hanyu blushes, completely caught off guard. Then comes the twist. He declines. She's too real for him. Mikari cackles, satisfied with the chaos she's created. Hanyu, on the other hand, is clearly not pleased with his conclusion. Ryurisa steps in before things spiral further, reminding Hanyu that she had promised to share some life hacks. Hanyu, regaining her composure, stresses the most important one: taking accurate measurements. Ryurisa, ever the airhead, immediately starts undressing to check. Hanyu stops her instantly. Okumura takes that as his cue to leave, citing the student council's rule that nothing should disrupt the club's focus. Mikari, watching the chaos unfold, makes an observation. Both Sensei and Ryurisa have perfect proportions and large eyes. Hanyu notes how much easier cosplay has become. Back in her day, makeup was expensive and wigs weren't as accessible, forcing cosplayers to dye their own hair. Then, the phone buzzes. A message from her manager, her upcoming cosplay activities canceled. Disappointment settles in. The excitement of the moment dims. In a surprising move, Okumura decides to throw away his private collection. No hesitation, no second thoughts. The student council president happens to witness this and, to his surprise, looks impressed. A responsible decision, she calls it. Then, almost shyly, she admits that for some, parting with such things can be emotional. Flustered, she even adds, he could always repurchase them when he turns 18. The awkwardness lingers. To lighten the mood, she suggests they pray together. On the way to school the next morning, the student council president casually asks Okumura if he has any cosplay plans for the day. Before he can answer, his phone buzzes. A call from Ogino. The news is unexpected. Rumors about Liliol are spreading across the city. Ogino explains the reason behind the sudden buzz. Mr. Camera, a well-known photographer with a reputation for capturing only legendary cosplayers. If he takes a picture of someone, their recognition skyrockets instantly. The previous night, Mr. Camera released a new article, 5 rising stars in the cosplay scene, and Liliel secured 5th place. The article details everything about her cosplay style, praising her authenticity and presence. But Ogino doesn't have high hopes. 5th place is impressive, but climbing higher in the ranks is another battle entirely. That comment doesn't sit well with Okumura. Enger flashes, he fiercely defends Liliel, calling her the sweetest person in the world. Then comes the next shock. 4th place belongs to Nono, a rising star known as the Ice Queen. When Ryurisa finally arrives at the club, Okumura doesn't waste a second. He excitedly shares the news. Liliel is ranked among the top rising stars. Ryurisa rushes to check the comments, her heart pounding. She sees it. People love how much she adores Liliel. Overwhelming happiness washes over her. 5th place isn't just a ranking, it's the beginning, the first step in something bigger. Okumura shares in her excitement but gently reminds her, cosplay isn't just about rankings, it's about passion, self-expression. But as they celebrate, something shifts. Nearby, a girl watches them. Her eyes burn with jealousy. Liliel's 5th place ranking has infuriated her. That's a wrap on this one. If you made it this far, you're either deep in the otaku trenches or just here for the chaos, and honestly, respect either way. But don't just ghost like an anime protagonist dad. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let me know if you're riding the 2D train or still coping with 3D heartbreak. And if you're not subscribed yet, fix that. More anime madness is coming, and you don't want to be that one guy hearing about it secondhand. Smash that sub button, turn on notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one.